Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about the new weekly hard stratagem for Space Marine 2 on week 7, I believe, and the easiest way to complete it and the best build setups to make it a pretty easy time. Now, for the stratagem this week, it's actually pretty easy. It is Termination with the battlefield conditions. Surgical Strike, a perfect parry or block deals significant damage to an enemy, but the perfect parry/block window is smaller. Bleary Sniper, Sniper will have 50% less health and will deal 50% less damage to enemies. It will not be able to parry blockable attacks. And of course, Tactical Weakness. Tactical will have 50% less health as well, and will also deal 50% less damage to enemies, and will not be able to parry blockable attacks. So really, the only battlefield condition here is Surgical Strike, and you just don't take Sniper and Tactical. Now, not having Tactical can be pretty hard for a lot of players. I know most experienced players won't really struggle with that at all, but Tactical is a pretty good way to nuke down boss spawns, and boss spawns are one of the hardest parts of Space Marine 2, especially for newer players. Now, another thing that will really affect newer players in this mode is the Surgical Strike modifier. Now, Surgical Strike does make the parry window very tight on a lot of the weapons. For this, I would take Fencing or Block. The reason is because Fencing and Block weapons have a 0-frame startup, and what that means is you will be able to instantly parry as soon as you hit the key, and the main thing that the Surgical Strike modifier does is it lowers the active frames of your parry window, but it doesn't really hurt you on your startup at all. So if you just take these weapons and you hit the button as soon as an attack lands on you, you will instantaneously parry it. And this is where balanced weapons have a bit of a problem, because balanced weapons in this game have a 10-frame negative startup. And what that means is you will not be able to parry until that active frame is over, and you'll just get a block instead. It feels really terrible, and not being able to parry instantaneously, especially on the Surgical Strike modifier, really sucks. Now, a way to circumvent this on the heavy that is completely locked into the balanced parry window is just taking a thing like the Multi-Melta. The Multi-Melta is one of the most powerful weapons in this game. If I was going to take heavy to this mission, I would just take Multi-Melta, or maybe even Pyro Cannon. Anything that has fat AoE and stagger. This one obviously having the most stagger because Multi-Melta is kind of cracked. And for the perk tree, I would just build it down all the way to the top tree for ammunition and pick up things like Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with 1 shot restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This perk is incredible to keep your armor up, and having armor in Space Marine 2 is just free damage reduction. And as far as the perk tree on the heavy goes, I would once again pick up the perk Fortitude. Health increases by 30%. Health increases in Space Marine 2 are also incredibly valuable because having more HP just means you won't die. Pretty self-explanatory. But on top of that, as your HP drops lower in Space Marine 2, you will get a ramping damage resist. This is why things like sniper shots from a Venom Cannon Warrior will not take all of your HP down instantaneously at 30% HP. When they shoot you at full health, you'll get down to 30%. Pretty useful there, so health increases are actually better than they seem. And on top of this perk, you can take the perk down here, Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. The damage resist of this perk on top of your health increase makes you incredibly tanky on the heavy class, especially for things like the heavy plasma, where you can pretty much trigger perks like Adamant Restoration over and over. Because perks like this read, when your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by 25% of the maximum capacity, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. Well, if you have a very tanky 30% HP, you can actually trigger this pretty easily without instantaneously dying, so perks like this are even better for that. Now, on top of a perk like this, I would take Encompassing Aegis. All of your squad members take 25% less damage from range attacks. Having a flat 25% damage reduction for your entire team on range attacks is super valuable, especially with the increased modifiers in the hard stratagems. And the final perks I would pick up would be stuff like Restoration for Armor Restore, and of course things like Offensive Capability or the perk down here, Conversion Field, for more CDR for your teammates. Honestly, heavy is pretty self-explanatory. This class is quite easy to play. Even with the Surgical Strike modifier, where he is kind of held back by the balanced parry window, Multi-Melta will stagger enough that it really doesn't matter all that much. Now for the next class here with the Bulwark, you can really take whatever you want on him. I would take a block or fencing weapon. Either way, I would pick up Intimidating Aura. Intimidating Aura plus Surgical Strike is actually kind of cracked. As we go back into the stratagems menu here, Surgical Strike will give you a damage buff on your parry when you actually perfect parry or block. So this on top of Intimidating Strike will just one-shot certain guys or get pretty damn close to that. And Bulwark has a ton of OP parry perks anyways. Stuff like Defensive Mastery is also very strong. A perfectly timed parry or block instantaneously incapacitates a Majoris or Extremis level enemy. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Now this perk might not sound that good initially because it has a 90-second cooldown, but being able to instantaneously remove a Ravener or Lictor from a boss fight can really save your life. Now, on top of perks like this, I would take stuff like Steel Within. When your health is less than 50%, you take 30% less health damage. This perk is very powerful, and just like the Heavy with its 30% increase HP perk with Fortitude, the Bulwark has a base HP increase of 30%, and having any type of damage reduction on top of this makes you absurdly tanky. You are way squishier when you don't take Conviction or Steel Within on this class, and today we want to take Intimidating Aura, so I would pick up this one instead. Now the perk down here in Scramble Targeting, if you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 25% less damage from range attacks. This really helps a ton as well. Being surrounded by 5 or more enemies happens in this game all the time, and 25% less damage from range attacks is pretty chunky. And of course the team perk selection here, you really can't go wrong. Advanced Conditioning is very strong, a 50% slower CHP fade. The perk down here, Effective Formation, all of your squad members take 20% less health damage from Extremis and Terminus level enemies, is also quite good. I wouldn't really pick this one up on this modifier though, because this is far better on like increased Extremis spawns. Now on the note of Advanced Conditioning, I think this is the most forgiving overall for newer players, because a lot of players, they don't know how to get back their CHP very quickly, so having this increased window really helps them a ton. You don't have to react as much, you don't have to like shoot back at enemies as often, so really useful for like melee combatants and stuff like that. And the perk up here, Focus Restoration, is as strong as ever. Every 30 seconds, all of your squad members automatically restore 1 armor segment. Armor restores in Space Marine 2 are just top tier. Any amount of armor remaining in this game will reduce the next incoming melee hit to 0 damage regardless of how much is remaining, including bosses, so really good here, especially for classes like Tactical, but on this particular stratagem, Tactical is not a class we're playing anyways, but either way, still a very good perk. Now for the melee perk tree, or I should say the melee weapon tree, or I should say the melee... Now for the melee weapon selection, you could just take a Block Fist. This weapon is positively cracked. It is more powerful than the Dueling Sword is in Dark Tide right now, and that's saying something. The perk tree is pretty much just as follows. I'd always take perks here like Heavy Preparation. Heavy attack preparation times reduced by 30%. Applies to the following attacks: Thrust Jab, Back Fist, Hammer Hook, Back Fist 2, Thrust Jab 2. This weapon may only have a 1+ speed, but speed does not matter on the Block Fist at all, because really all you ever do with a fist in this game is charge your attacks and execute, and this is really all this one is good for anyways. Now, the perk up here, Focused Intention, when your health is below 30%, you take 50% less health damage while preparing heavy attacks. This makes you stupidly tanky on top of perks like Steel Within while you are charging your attacks. You can pretty much just sit there, get the double charge, one-shot a Majoris, and instantaneously get your HP back off of the execute. And on top of all of this, the perk here, Overcharge, charge attack damage increases by 20%. It does affect the Block Fist for the Bulwark class, unlike the Assault class Overcharge perk, so it's even better than it sounds, and you can really easily hit those breakpoints against any Majoris in the game. Now, if you don't want to use this weapon, you could take a Fencing Power Sword or something. Really, any weapon lets you trigger your Intimidating Aura very easily on top of Surgical Strike is good. So just like I mentioned before, Fencing and Block are the best for this because they have a 0-frame startup. I would probably avoid the Thunder Hammer because this one's just a little more unwieldy for newer players, and the Chain Sword is pretty good for fencing as well, or even the Power Axe, but that is up to you. Now, for the Vanguard class setup, it is pretty self-explanatory. You just take the team perks, Unmatched Zeal, melee finishers of Extremis or Terminus level enemies, additionally restore health by 30% for any squad members, or you take the team perk down here, Inner Fire. All of your squad members can restore ability charge by 15% by performing finishers on Majoris level or higher enemies. Anything that breaks the CDR economy or pickup economy of this game is top tier, like I mentioned before, and these two perks are no different. And in the case of Inner Fire, the description here is actually incorrect. You don't have to do a finisher on a Majoris level enemy, you just have to kill one. So if you kill any Majoris or higher enemy with Inner Fire on your team, you will just get that 15% HP back, or excuse me, CDR back, so it's really valuable there. Now, I also want to mention that perks like Hone Reactions are pretty good for this modifier, and this one reads, when your health is less than 50%, your perfect dodge window is doubled. There are times in this game where you will miss a parry, and being able to perfect dodge with a doubled window immediately after can help you get back your CHP, because of this perk will trigger even if you have like CHP active. As long as your HP drops below 50%, it will trigger no matter what, so pretty good for that. I also want to mention the perks here, Conviction once again. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds, on top of the perk over here, Thrill of the Fight. After a perfect time parry, block, or dodge, you take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. Both of these combined can come out to like a 45% HP damage reduction on top of your armor restore here, on top of Fortitude with a health increase increase of 15%. Super powerful option for Vanguard. This guy becomes one of the tankiest classes in this game, despite being like kind of a reaver sort. So he's really stronger than he looks. And on top of all of this, you just use the tactical prowess of impact combo just to AoE executes. Pretty straightforward, but Vanguard is as strong as ever, even though his perk choices are a little limited currently. Now for the weapon selection, I would probably just take a Melter Rifle here on him, because Melter Rifle has great stagger. In patch 9.0, they did buff up the range variant to have a greater damage fall off. This one has a great damage at range. It actually ups your damage quite a bit. It is substantial for sure. And as far as the perk tree goes, I would just pick up perks down here like Decisive Reload for ammo regen, the perk here Rapid Health for more HP regen if you don't have like a Mass Heal or something, and the perk here Trick Shot once again for armor restore, and just move up the top tree for all these extra damage perks and a little bit of fire rate. That's pretty much all there is for the Vanguard. You could take the Oculus or the Bull Carbine if you want. They're both pretty good, but Melta for stagger is pretty damn strong on him currently, so I do prefer this. And that's pretty much all there is for these three classes. Now, if you do want to take Assault, this class is also very strong for this modifier right now. Thunderhammer Assault goes hard this patch because of the increased AoE radius, and really anything with your Ground Pound and Zealous Blow is going to horde clear like no other versus Tyranids, and perks like Armor Reinforcement on top of your starting perk for a 50% increased dodge window really make the Surgical Strike modifier not matter too much for you. And to be honest, the Assault class is one of the best solo classes in this game currently, just because, like, at least versus Tyranids, because Tyranids really do struggle to kill you when you have this Armor Reinforcement plus perfect dodge window, plus your insane amount of horde clear versus your Hormigaunt Swarm. So really strong option here. Now, I would say that Unyielding Oath and Adrenaline Boost are the two best perks in here outside of things like Fortitude. So if you're picking up prestige perks, I would take the no knockback from this perk and the invulnerability while charging your Ground Pound. But keep in mind, as far as I know, charging your Ground Pound in this game does not give you any bonus damage unless you take this perk here, which is called Diligence. A fully prepared Ground Pound deals 20% more damage, but preparation time increases by 25%. Just keep that in mind, which is why I prefer the perk up here, Pride and Duty, instead. After a finisher, Ground Pound deals 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Now, if you want to take a secondary weapon here, obviously the Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol is the strongest secondary in the game. If you watched any of my videos already, it has amazing CHP regen, amazing stagger, amazing DPS. The ammo economy kind of sucks and is not very good versus Zoanthropes and Neurothropes, but still very strong versus everything else. Now, Inferno pistol stocks are up this patch, more so versus Chaos and Tyranids, funnily enough, but still pretty good option here. Great ammo economy on this and great stagger, and obviously the Heavy Bolt pistol is a classic. So if you want to take any of these, they're pretty good. That's pretty much all there is for the Assault class. That's pretty much all I have to say about the hard stratagem this week. This one really isn't too bad, guys. Surgical Strike is obnoxious, especially for newer players, but overall it is far easier than one we had 2 weeks ago. I also want to mention that if you are approaching the 1,000 accolade point cap, that is the total cap you can actually have in this game for accolades currently, so you don't actually have to do this mission at all if you're already here. Just keep that in mind. And if you like content like this, guys, subscribe for more. Hopefully this build guide helped, or at least like some of the tips and tricks helped you if you're new to these stratagems. And as always, thank you for watching. Bye.